The inclusion of the term Swift in the name of this laptop indicates that it is a powerful computer. Is this, however, correct? Let's get to the review. The Acer Swift 3 is designed in a way that is almost painfully utilitarian. Despite the fact that it's made of aluminum and a magnesium-aluminum alloy, it's only available in a rather uninteresting gray coloring. Acer does offer a few more colorful possibilities in a blue or orangish color scheme, but those color schemes are only available for specific configurations of the laptop. The Acer Swift 3's frame isn't very noteworthy. It doesn't stand out in any way. Despite its thinness, it falls short of the outstanding thinness of other Ultrabooks in its category. It's also a little heavier than some of its competitors, weighing in at 2.65 pounds. Of course, this is a 14-inch device, so a slight increase in weight over a 13-inch model, such as the Dell XPS 13 or the Asus Zenbook 13, is to be expected. From the standpoint of the Swift 3 structure, there isn't much wibble or wobble to be concerned about. It's nearly uncomfortably rigid, and after barely an hour of use, our hands are starting to feel a little sensitive. We're relieved to discover that the deck flexes only a small bit around the keyboard area. The Acer Swift 3's performance may more than make up for its lackluster appearance. That upward-facing exhaust vent, which we find unpleasant, may be the same thing that helps it come out ahead of comparably spec'd Ultrabooks with a more stunning build, such as the Dell XPS 13. In fact, the Acer Swift 3 outperformed that laptop in every single one of our performance tests, despite the fact that they were both powered by the same processor. When it comes to performance, the Acer Swift 3 comes out on top. Single-core performance is excellent for a laptop, and multi-core performance is also good. However, we've seen the Ryzen 7 5700U deliver higher multi-core performance as a result of its additional cores in comparison to the previous generation. When the Acer Swift 3 is working hard, the fans do make a little noise, but it is nothing compared to the screaming some gaming laptops make when their cooling systems are overworked and overheated. The benchmarks, on the other hand, do not tell a complete story. The performance of the device while running on battery can vary. We've been using the Acer Swift 3 extensively, and we've noticed that it frequently stalls and feels unresponsive, occasionally failing to launch a software immediately, and then throwing up many instances of it a few seconds later. There are no significant issues, and it is not something that occurs every minute. There is a continuous lack of responsiveness that we have not noticed on some laptops that have actually performed worse in benchmark tests. You'll discover a good range of ports on the sides of the device. On the left, you'll find a power plug, an HDMI port, a USB-A port, and a USB-C port. On the right, you'll find a headphone jack, another USB-A port, and a Kensington lock slot. If you don't care for Acer's brick, you could also charge your device using the USB-C port on the back. One feature that would have been wonderful to have is an SD card slot, but I'm willing to overlook that oversight because this gadget is clearly not intended for creative work. The display, which is the most significant sacrifice you'll be forced to make if you go with the Swift 3. During testing, the 1920 by 1080 panel reproduced only 65% of the sRGB spectrum and delivered only 218 nits of brightness, which was far from impressive. That result is acceptable for work and entertainment purposes, but it eliminates the Swift from consideration for anyone who has to perform artistic work or who wants their films to look as beautiful as possible. It does, however, cause issues when used outside in the outdoors. I was working in my balcony, and even though it was a very dreary afternoon, and the screen was set to its highest setting, glare made it difficult to work. I found myself hoping I could turn the volume up even higher all of the time. Some comparable laptops do better than others. The Aspire 5 is somewhat brighter while achieving similar sRGB values, while Lenovo's IdeaPad 5 achieves over 300 nits of brightness, though color reproduction is slightly worse. It is also difficult to multitask because of the 16:9 aspect ratio. As someone who is accustomed to stacking many windows side by side, I found myself needing to zoom out practically all of the time in order to view everything I needed to see at once. Although a few Swift 3 models feature 3:2 aspect ratio displays, these models are a little more expensive, but they're well worth considering if you believe you'd benefit from the additional screen space. Even so, there are some positive aspects to the panel discussion. The bezels are rather subtle, measuring 5.5 millimeters on the sides, and they contribute to the overall modern and professional appearance of the device. According to Acer, the screen-to-body ratio is 82.73%. Furthermore, the material is matte, which reduces the effects of glare in bright environments at the expense of some contrast in the picture. The Acer Swift 3 certainly lives up to the Intel Evo certification that it received. Our battery life tests revealed that the device lasted 14 hours and 31 minutes in our PC Mark 10 battery life test, and just passed the 9-hour threshold in our video playback test. Our confusion about the discrepancy between the two scores is understandable, as we are used to having the two tests line up more closely, if not seeing the movie playback come out on top. As a result of our personal hands-on experience with the Acer Swift 3, we have put the battery to the test in real-world situations and found it to be extremely reliable. Because of the anti-glare display, it's simple to keep the Acer Swift 3 operating without having to keep the brightness at 100% all of the time, which helps to conserve battery life to a certain extent. The laptop also doesn't leave us scrambling for a power outlet at the end of the day, even after we spent the whole day writing, editing, and reviewing on Chrome with way too many tabs open.